Hey everyone, Ragnamoon here, welcoming you to what I'm going to call a podcast of sorts because it's that time of the month again where I just can't seem to shut up, so it's time to spill my guts. As you guys know, or maybe not know, I love Pokemon. It's a fantastic series. It has given me so much, I've given it so much attention as a kid, I've given it so much love and compassion. I've never really been a competitive player, aside from that one time the Alola Friendly was a thing, because we didn't have that many mons to choose from, so it was a lot easier to pick and choose what would be the specialists of sorts to go for, and I did pretty well in that little tournament, but that's as far as I ever got over the years. But I've loved Pokemon ever since I was a kid. Gen 1, I've played since Generation 1. I never really owned games until Gen 2, but then I backtracked. But nowadays, Pokemon is just this huge, largely grossing phenomena that's just absolutely awesome. So I figured, in order to spill my guts today, I just pull up a bunch of the sprites. I'm not going to go over everything in detail, but I want to go over my memories and my experiences with Pokemon from the very beginning, just as a bit of just a little bit, because Gen 8 made a big announcement today that has gotten a lot of people salty. But I'll go over that when when we get to it. But let's just start with Gen 1 because it was the OG generation. 151 Pokemon. I remember the anime was so strong. I watched it all the time as a kid when I got home from school on the Kids WB. Then I turned it over to Toonami and watched a bunch of anime. Tenchi Muyo, Dragon Ball. I prefer the original Dragon Ball over Z. Fight me. But regardless, our subject is Pokemon. I loved the game. I remember we borrowed Blue version from a friend of ours. And another friend of mine and their family would come and stay with us yearly at the time. They had Pokemon Red version. At that particular time when they would come visit, I had Pokemon Gold. And prior to that, we would just borrow the game, we borrow Gen 1 from our friends just to have a bit of fun and play through. But it wasn't until Christmas of around, I want to say 99, when I had my own Game Boy, and I finally got Pokemon for it. But it was Pokemon Gold. But we're talking Gen 1. I liked Gen 1. It was archaic. It was hard. And of course, we were of the mindset back then that we pretty much only used our starters. Because our starter was apparently the only mon that we should have cared about. Nowadays, we're a lot smarter. We know the importance of well-balanced teams. Back then, you really could just use the starter. Gen 1 for me was just Charizard fire spinning everything. Oh boy, those were some times. I remember once in, I believe it was the 4th grade, I knew this kid that, this first grader, that apparently his idea of a good time was giving people bloody noses. Uh, we played Pokemon a bit. We actually did competitive battling, and I spent like the entire part of like 2 weeks getting through the game again and putting together a competitive team of sorts to take him on. Of course, I picked some of the good stuff because they just happened to be my favorites. I had Charizard, I had Jolteon, I had Articuno. I did not have an Alakazam. I wish I could have traveled back in time and said, "Hey, catch an Abra and get it to an Alakazam. You can teach it all the elemental punches too. Thank me later." But my usual go-to was Charizard, Jolteon, Alakazam, no. Charizard, Jolteon, Articuno, Omastar, of all things. Yeah, back then Omastar was actually pretty cool to me, anyways. What else did I use? No, that was about all I really used in the real main squad, I suppose. I didn't use Starmie, though I wish I could, because Starmie can learn Thunderbolt via TM. Starmie was awesome in Gen 1, if I might say, because it could learn, you could give it Surfer Hydro Pump, Thunderbolt, Psychic, and Ice Beam. That thing could just sweep. Now, obviously, in today's game, Starmie is a lot less viable due to its lower stat lines, but the coverage back then was god tier, let's be real. It was amazing. I loved it so much. I remember struggling to capture things in the Safari Zone. Everyone wanted to catch a Chansey. I remember, I think it was either blue or red or one of the two, where you could actually encounter level 64 Chanseys in there, and I think that was your best XP farm. I remember always using the Moonstones on for Nidoking and Nidoqueen. I remember... What else do I remember? I remember I never actually had access to the trade mons because no one else would be playing with me at the time. Aside from another other friend of mine, I've had a fair few friends that would play Pokemon from time to time. I remember using one of those friends to help me get the 3 legendary birds, Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos, into Gen 2. And I never did get Mew under the truck. But that's all I really had for Gen 1. It was awesome, it was fun, and I remember it wholeheartedly, but not as much as Gen 2. I remember Gen 2 a hell of a lot more, and here's why. Typhlosion. That's the only reason I need Typhlosion. I did multiple playthroughs of Gen 2. I did one with Meganium, found out it was the worst of the 3. I did some with Feraligatr, or back when I was a kid, I called it Fairligator. Fairligator. Just Fairligator. I don't know why. I also found it funny how Feraligatr never really had a proper name, because the name was supposed to be Feraligator, or Gator, but we couldn't fit that one vowel because of the 10-character naming limits. Damn you, early tech. But of course, my go-to was the man, the myth, the legend, the Typhlosion, because, come on, you have Charizard's stat line, and you're just overall cool looking. I know Joey, PokeAMD, said Typhlosion looks worse than Quilava, and I just have to say, bullshit. Typhlosion is the best Pokemon in the entire game. Fight me. I might be biased, but let's go over what I actually loved about Gen 2. The Pokemon variety was pretty meh because I want to say, the problem was you really didn't have that much actual variety when it came to Gen 2. I say that in the way of half of the Kanto Mons were your Calm Mons, and the other half were just not there at all, even when you made it to Kanto. So it felt really weird that there was like over... How many... I can't remember. Some guy did a series where he would say how long it would take to catch every actually available Mon in the carts that wouldn't require transfers of any sort. And there was a staggering amount that would require transfers, which was just dumb. One good thing it did introduce, though, was breeding. I say that because now you actually had a way to get the the younger Mons available. And it was just, it was very helpful. It was very helpful. Great, now I'm at a loss for words. Some Mons, though, I never really got to see nor use because, once again, my inexperience was leading me to not really catching and experimenting with anything, so I never got to see Azumarill. I never really got to see Porygon 2. Everyone saw Espeon and Umbreon because of that one, dance studio where you get to surf, and we all remember flipping our shit when we found out Rhydon could learn surf. It was hilarious. Oh, we remember the terror that was Wobbuffet. We all remember Misdreavus sucked, but had the niche of being a Perish Song mean looker. We remember Heracross sucked until it got actually usable stab. I mean, Megahorn was a really good move, but it got like no fighting support, and Megahorn wasn't learnable until like way later in the game for no reason. And then there was, of course, the roaming trio until Crystal, where Suicune was made static, and Ho was locked behind having to catch all 3 of the fuckers. Roaming legendaries, why? Why did people say that was a good... Why did people think that was a good idea? If they thought it was a good idea. I remember I never got Blissey. I remember I always preferred Ho-Oh over Lugia. And I remember I never actually got to train up a Tyranitar. Because apparently that was a thing. That's all I remember from Gen 2 aside of, oh right, we got 2 full regions to play through, so we have looked at Gen 2 and the Gen 2 remake in Gen 4 as like the swan song of the Pokemon games because it's the generation that would just keep on giving. And to be honest, I kind of see a bit of truth to that. I mean, think about it. I'll go over the Gen 2 remake when we get to Gen 4 because that's when it was made. Gen 3. Gen 3, I don't have that many attachments to because... I skipped over Gen 3 previously. I went right into Gen 4. But when I did go back to play Gen 3, I didn't get caught up in the bias that was trumpets! Glorious trumpets! Blaziken, of course, was the best one, but only because of its typing. and the fact that it pretty much just destroyed a vast majority of the game, so much so that Emerald version did a little bit of rebalancing, to the point where the water monsters the water Pokemon you would see made up about 80% of the endgame. And I'm not even joking when I say that. People make the meme for the Gen 6 remake, for the Gen 6, Gen 3 remake, where, 7.8 out of 10 too much water and all that stuff, but it just made Blaziken feel a bit invalidated. Until that particular remake, where once again we're fighting Steven, so we can just protect once, get a speed boost, Mega Evolve, and then Blaze Kick and High Jump kick everything in sight until we win. So yeah, that's a thing. My favorite of those three, though, is actually Sceptile, because I picked Trico first because I didn't know any better. And it made me sad because literally almost every Watermon I remember fighting had something that made it resist grass moves. Tentacruels were poison, Wingalls were flying, so it got super effective damage. Like, that generation was not friendly to Sceptile in the slightest. Let's be real here. Though, I didn't just play the handhelds, I also played both Coliseum and XD. And I liked them. I liked Coliseum, I loved XD. Because I got to play with some of my favorites. In XD, I got to play with Jolteon. I got to experiment with some a bit lesser known Mons at the time, because I knew this game you didn't really have a starter, so you wanted to make sure that you had a fair, diverse, and balanced team comp of some sort, especially with the inability to access HMs. I know some people picked Vaporeon because it would get a really good water move. I don't know, it never got Surf. But it did get some really good water moves. I know it would get access to Hydro Pump. You could easily have it learn Water Pulse. I remember my team for XD was Jolteon, Shiftry, Houndoom, Wailord, which evolved really late in the game. Who was my fifth? My fifth was Gardevoir, because, Gardevoir was really good with the coverage it could learn, and it was an actually evolvable, slower Alakazam, so that was a plus. What was the sixth, though? Sixth one, I cannot remember for the life of... Swalot. I used Swalot. Because it actually could tank stuff. Yeah, it was Swalot, I remember now. Yeah, so basically the stuff you would catch from those Cypher Goons, the colorful trio, the ones that are supposed to be Power Ranger XPs. I remember that. Everyone hated slacking. I remember Mawile got an awesome Mega Evo back then. I'll get into more of those, I guess, when we keep going. I remember the Terra that was Metagross. I love XD's beginning. The fact that you start with a Salamence versus a Metagross, I'm just like, hell yeah, this is how you start a game off. Giving me the big boys early. We're going to steamroll through this game. Oh, it was a sim. Remember the Braille puzzles? I hated the Braille puzzles in Emerald. I played Emerald when I played Gen 3. And I don't regret that choice, because we had Battle Frontier. I have no idea why Game Freak didn't follow up with Battle Frontier in Gen 6, because we all know Battle Frontier is the best. Gen 4 did Battle Frontier stuff too, only 5 as opposed to 7, but it was still decent, and you had 2 of the classics with 3 new ones that I think did their job relatively well enough. The Battle Arcade was a nice spin. The Battle Castle was an interesting one, that's for sure. And of course, the less we say about the battle stage, the better. Because there's nothing like getting to a streak of 160. There's nothing like getting to a streak of 169 Mons with your favorite, getting to the final 170th battle, and it's just a complete and utter counter to your team that one-shots you with an earthquake. Ah ha ha ha! So let's get into Gen 4, shall we? Oh man, Gen 4, this is where I spent a lot of time in my school days. I went through 3 copies of Diamond version. I never played Platinum, I never played Pearl. I just went through 3 copies of Diamond version because 1 was stolen from me, 2 of them were stolen from me, and a third copy was, let me think. I bought my first copy of Diamond. A friend of mine found a second copy of Diamond. I can't remember whatever happened to it. And then my third version of Diamond, I think I gave one of my games to a friend, and they wanted to give something in return, so they gave me a Pokemon Diamond card, and I was just like, cool. I was happy, because I played Diamond again. One of my favorite starters to ever come out was Empoleon, who I swear, ever since this generation, though, I have had insane luck where my first playthroughs typically have me with a female starter. I don't know why, because getting a female starter compared to a male is like a 1 in 8 chance. And you have a 7/8 chance of having it be male. So ever since this generation, I've always just had a female Empoleon that I couldn't think of a nickname for because I wanted to nickname Mons now, so I just called it Aquaria. I don't know why. But I liked Empoleon design-wise. It looked like a badass royal penguin, though its typing was very unfortunate. We all know Infernape... Whoop. There goes my leg hitting the damn desk again. We all know Empoleon was nothing compared to Infernape. Torterra was nothing compared to Infernape. It felt really weird because they gave all of these Mons secondary typings that actually contradicted one another. And Empoleon was the loser of both of these. Because Torterra was supposed to be super effective against Empoleon. You know, grass beats water. But Empoleon gets the Steel type, which resists grass moves. That's cool. Torterra has Ground type, which is super effective against its secondary Steel typing. Empoleon loses, if not outsped and killed by an Ice Beam or a Blizzard. And if Empoleon gets outsped by Torterra and isn't able to kill Torterra with an Ice Beam or a Blizzard, then Empoleon loses because Earthquake. Infernape was the clear winner of the three. Being the second fire fighting type in a row, water is supposed to beat fire. Surprise, Infernape can learn close combat and outspeed Empoleon like nothing. Meaning fighting types, meaning steel type, meaning its steel type did nothing to help it. Empoleon was the clear loser of the three in terms of typings. Stat line wise, Empoleon could be a cannon and had rather starter battles aside, Empoleon was a rather solid Mon because it resisted and or got immunities to 11 of the then 17 types. That's excellent for a defensive typing. The only problem was the very common types you would find. Thunder, Ground, it had super effect. It was weak 2. And those were easily you look at a competitive team, you tell me where you wouldn't see a Thunderbolt, a Thunder, or an Earthquake anywhere, or some variants thereof. That's not the only thing that was awesome. I remember I loved Staraptor, I loved Luxray, I liked going through the gyms, they were pretty cool. Again, I never played Platinum, so I was forced to being slow. I also found the third love of my life in terms of Pokemon designs. Roselia got an upgrade, an evolution by the name of Roserade, and when I saw that thing looked like a grass ninja. I mean, think about it. The mask, the cape, all that thing needed was actual hands in its bouquets where it could just pull out Poison Kunai and just throw everything. I think that was when I was going through my Naruto phase as well, which is why I kind of stuck with it, but I named it Rose Thorn because I was unoriginal. I didn't mind the name, though. I remember the fossils were pretty cool. I remember this is where I also found the PokeTuber Maryland, which I've stopped watching as of late just because I've lost interest, as I'm not anywhere near the huge Pokemon nut as I used to be. But I remember he's the one that introduced me to the awesomeness that was Rampardos. I remember Vespiquen gave me a few nightmares here and there because it was a giant bee it was a living beehive. That scared me. Miss Magius looked like a black mage, and that was cool. I don't think I have to say a thing when it came to Garchomp and that devil, Cynthia. Cynthia was literally just this runes maniac that happened to be a woman, and she was given easily one of the hardest teams in the entire game to face. And remember, I played Diamond, not Platinum, so while I didn't have to contend with Togekiss, I had to contend with this thing at a ridiculously high level. I think it was 62. She also had a Lucario. I remember before I got through my first copy of the game, I really wanted Lucario, but I never actually get that thing to evolve until I learned, oh, it's a Friendship Evo. Ugh. I remember Weavile was a cool Mon. That thing just straight up looked like an upgrade to Sneasel, and I liked it. I remember the first time I got Rhyperior. I remember hating Electivire and Magmortar for some reason. Air Slash Serene Grace Togekiss can go jump off a cliff, even though it flies, so it'll be okay. Porygon Z was an interesting thing. It definitely looked like it was just a really buggy thing. I took Mamoswine for granted. I know how good it is now. Gliscor is kind of cool. Did not like the new evolutions of Leafeon and Glaceon, just because Leafeon is supposed to be a physical attacker, but Leaf Blade's all it's got. And Glaceon is just a little too slow for my liking. It's got a little bulk, though. I remember chasing Mesprit and Cresselia. Oh, God. Roaming legendaries, why do you exist? I heard Platinum had it even worse. They had to catch 3 birds, too, from Kanto. Oh, God. I remember I liked Dialga's design. Palkia was cool. I never got to experience the gloriousness of his origin form Giratina. I just had the altered form. I remember the puzzle that was getting Regigigas, and then I found out, oh, I gotta go back and play Gen 3 if I want to get this Regigigas, because I need Regice, Regirock, and Registeel. So I borrowed Gen 3 from a friend of mine. Ah, my good old friends, that's the only reason. I remember this was also the generation I got a hold of an action replay that sadly no longer works, and I was able to play around with a lot of stuff. Making custom encounters, triggering a randomizer, actually accessing Darkrai, Shaman, and Arceus, because mythicals were such a good idea. But I had so much fun with Gen 4. But I can't go on to Gen 5 because it's time to talk about the Gen 2 remake that happened. And I should go and backtrack to Generation 3 because I just realized I forgot to talk about Fire Red and Leaf Green. Let's be frank, they're not that great. They're basically Gen 3's take on Gen 1 with a little bit more content and moving Moltres to these Sevi Islands, whatever they were. I remember people didn't necessarily like these games a lot. I want to say it was because Colosseum and XD overshadowed the hell out of them. That's just my take on it. Let me think here. And then the Gen 2 remakes that happened in Gen 4, I was a day one buyer. I remember the Pokewalker. It was okay. I kind of lost mine, but I got them. I didn't really have anything in there. It was okay. It was okay for a while. Kind of reminded me of an old Digivice. I owned like a really old Digivice. One of those little toys that made it look like Tamagotchis or whatever. Basically, you'd have to shake it, or you'd just walk around like a pedometer or something. That's how you'd get stuff going. I remember that thing. That thing's apparently worth a lot now. But this isn't Digimon, this is Pokemon. Gen 2 remake of Gen 4, best thing that ever happened. I remember I actually borrowed a friend's other DS so I could import my Empoleon named Aquaria into the second half of the game as I explored through the Kanto region. And I got an appreciation for Ampharos. I had a friend trade me so I could have Alakazam. And then I beat Red. I didn't have that much of a good balanced team comp. I just had my Typhlosion and my Empoleon literally carry me, because Ampharos was so damn slow, and nothing else could really keep up that I wanted to use. Kind of a shame, but I still beat Red, after spamming a whole bunch of full restores, hyper potions, revives, and carefully and closely whittling down whatever he had via the hail. It was fun. It was a fun experience. And then I found out there's even more that I could do in this game. What do I mean by that? Remember when I said it was the generation that keeps on giving? Viridian Forest was finally brought back into a full, actually explorable dungeon. Moltres would actually appear in Mount Silver when you were exploring through it through side paths. Articuno's dungeon, the Seafoam Islands, was brought back, literally 1-to-1. Zapdos would appear outside the power plant after beating Red, which was cool. I think it was after beating Red, or maybe it would be when power's restored and a day passes or something. Through the crypticness that was the game's call system, you could get gym leaders. You can get gym leaders' phone numbers and call them between certain times of the day to get them rematchable inside the old dojo that was in Saffron City. And that was awesome. You could gym leader rematches, though they're not that hard by comparison to, say, Platinum's rematches. Still, it's the thought that counts, and Jasmine has good taste because she too has an Empoleon. I like that. What else? You could actually find, if you were exploring around the game, you could also find cameos from the other Gen 4 gym leaders and the demon herself, Cynthia. Though thankfully she does not battle you. We are spared. Oh, and they even brought back Mewtwo's dungeon with a brand new design, which threw me off because I was like, I can go in here? The hell? And sure enough, after beating Red, you even got a Kanto starter and a Hoenn starter from Steven in the Silphco building, which was just icing on the cake. It's like, this is what I mean. And then they blocked off a few items via the Rock Climb HM that was in Gen 4. And the only way to learn Rock Climb was to beat all 16 gym leaders so that Professor Oak would give it to you. But other than that, just Rock Climb definitely gave you a little more exploration because it gave me one more hurrah between each and every area that I had to comb over and see what items and or if there are any new Pokemon to get through, which there was also custom battle themes for both Ho-Oh and Lugia and the 3 dogs, which roaming legendaries. Thankfully, though, Suicune is still a static encounter. They took hints from Crystal version and just made it a static encounter, but only if you get back only over in Kanto. So, Entei and Raikou. When I saw Raikou, I immediately chucked my Master Ball and said, "You're mine, pal." Entei still eludes me to this day. Damn you, 0.3 catch rate. Yeah, I'm gushing over Gen 2. You can tell I'm biased. Anyways, what else, real quick? Oh, the custom battle themes for Ho and Lugia. Ho-Oh's was awesome! That's what I wanted to see. It's like the most honorable thing, and it's the reason I prefer Heart Gold to Soul Silver, because the dance that they do in order to summon the mythical Pokemon into the world there to battle you, it definitely feels like it treats Ho-Oh better versus Lugia. Lugia feels like a goddamn sea monster whose theme tells me, in the deep dark ocean, no one can hear you scream. It feels like you're battling for your life against a sea monster. That makes it an epic battle, but damn, I feel sorry for the people that actually enjoy Lugia, and it's just a sea monster. It's just a sea monster theme to them. That's unfortunate. Oh my god, Gen 4. You gave me so much playtime. Oh, and there are even special events you could get in Gen 4 as well for Regirock, Regice, and Registeel to become appearable. I believe you had to get a very special Walmart Regigigas of some sort in your game. And then it would open up 3 more dungeons with 3 more Braille puzzles. I'll know how we like them. You guys remember the Braille puzzle for a little bit. You guys remember the Braille puzzle for Gen 3? Where you had to use cut on the steel door? Because I didn't know what the hell that meant, I just assumed it was a dead end. So I couldn't progress. Then I found out, I'm supposed to use cut on that door. I'm just like, well, that's dumb. Why couldn't they just tell me, use cut on this door? Braille was a dumb idea. I'm glad they scrapped it finally in Gen 5. Speaking of Gen 5, I remember the hype train for that game. Oh, Gen 1 was archaic. Gen 2 introduced hold items. Everyone flocked to leftovers, sometimes the focus band, which led to hilarious shenanigans of having multiple survivals. And the Berserk gene was hilarious. Gen 3 had abilities. Some were cool, some were bad, some were absolutely busted, and some were forgettable. Gen 4 had that awesome physical special split, which made moves feel like they were actual legitimate moves for once. And ever since then, I called the special attack stat magic. Okay, good, Gen 5. I remember I looked at superior stats and I was like, this is like a defensive Typhlosion, but it's grass. And I remember I actually searched around for people's unprotected Wi-Fi at the time to get a Victini because I didn't have an internet connection of my own. Thankfully, I had once again, the internet connection I got to just so happened to be a friend of mine's. Nowadays, everyone has their Wi-Fi's protected, as you should. Always have your Wi-Fi protected. You don't want war drivers around. Victini, though, was like a really cool thing. Back then, I was hugely into 10, so I named a lot of my team off of the likes of the 10 cast. Never got a Kamari, but I named Victini Waka because it had a bunch of ball moves. Superior, I just named its Japanese name Jalorda because, once again, I somehow got a female starter my first time. I'm just like, you're serious. Emboar was the clear loser. It had amazing coverage, but its speed just said no. Even if it had Flame Charge. Even though it had Flame Charge, good luck setting up. Emboar was clearly the loser. Even more so of a loser, because this thing had not only no special defense, it was the 3rd fire fighting type in a row. People were sick of it. It's the whole reason people hated Emboar and flocked over to Samurott, which didn't really look like much, just looked like some sort of horned guy. Then a Pokédex 3D app came out for the DSi, and when we saw that those shoulder pad thingies actually concealed friggin' swords, everyone was on the hype train for that. That was the coolest stuff we've ever seen. Oh my god. The bane of Gen 5 for me was Herdier, because Retaliate and Herdier evolved at such a low level with a 90 power move known as Takedown. I hated Herdier. It was everywhere. I also remember buying the OG Gen 5, which was nothing but the Unova Pokemon. I didn't really have that much of a problem with that because we'd still import our older stuff from previous generations if we had a second DS. Sadly, I did not at the time. But then Black 2, White 2 came out, and it just made it oh so much better because, well, let's just say Black 2 and White 2 is probably if Heart Gold, Soul Silver were not the best Pokemon games because they were the generations that would keep on giving for the playtime, Black 2, White 2 would be the same, if not better, if not a step below Heart Gold, Soul Silver, depending on your viewpoint of it. I think it's on the same pedestal because of the Pokemon variety. Because of the Pokemon variety we got. Gen 1, Gen 2, like all the bases were covered. You get Pokemon from all of the previous generations in this game. Maybe not the starters, but some really good notable ones were available. But unfortunately, some of the ones that were, Unova bound were still dumb. We actually got a brand new trait evolution with Gigalith. Why? Funny enough, if you actually played both Black and Black 2, or White 2, just one of one and one of two, you'll notice that the guy has a Boldore and asks for an Emolga. In Black 1, the guy wanted a Boldore, right? Right. Rather, the guy, I think, wanted a Roggenrola or a Boulder, and he would give you, I think it was an Emolga or something for it, which was cool. But he'll ask for an Emolga in return in Black 2, White 2, and thankfully, unlike Gen 4, who gives you a Haunter and, oh, tee-hee, it's holding an Everstone. Fooled you, you bitch. This guy is not holding an Everstone, so Black 2, White 2 has an easily accessible Gigalith if you really wanted to use it. It's slow. It's bulky, but it's cool looking. I mean, look at that. It looks like literal precipices. Musharno is creepy. Everyone liked the monkeys, even though they literally looked like Starter 2.0. I got a Simipour and named it Titus. Oh god, Girder. That's right. This was a generation that introduced that somewhat stupid XP scaling curve, where the higher level you are, the lower amount of XP you get. That made it a pain in the ass for grinding at level 100 for the sake of competitive battles. Until Black 2 White 2 came out with the Join Avenue, which alleviated that issue altogether, because I believe it was possible to just pay for level ups then and there. Everyone remembered the horror that was Conkeldurr. Eviolite was introduced in this generation, which made a bunch of Pokemon have more niches, like Porygon 2, Girder, Clefairy with Eviolite was a thing for doubles. But I believe for competitive battling's sake, this is also one of the worst generations. Not because of any real changes, but because they gave Politoed Drizzle. They introduced hidden abilities, and Politoed arguably got the best with Drizzle. Meaning that ability that is supposed to be pretty exclusive and unique to the likes of Kyogre, a big old legendary. Nope, we can just have a big old frog. I can't remember who it was. I think it was the Silver League Networks. He made a big deal over Politoed. I sympathized with his plight, but I never was really into competitive battling. Me, I was more worried about the fact that in the post-game of Black 1, I was like, oh, this villa in Undella Town, what could possibly be it? Then I see the figure, then I see the piano play, and I'm just like, and I could just feel my character trying to claw at the door that's suddenly locked behind him. So I'm thinking, alright, you bitch, I'll fight you. But I won't like it. Then she sends out her first Mon, level 75 Spiritomb. I'm just like, I look at my level 60 team. I'm in hell. I am in literal hell. I somehow down the Spiritomb, and out comes Garchomp, ready to play at level 78. And I'm like, I'm in hell, get me out of here! No running from a trainer battle. No, have mercy. Sweeps my entire team with Earthquake, and I'm like, I'll be back. After a bit of training up to the low 70s, I finally get that team through and beat her. And I was happy. Then I went fishing and found out that those fishing spots, after I got the Super Rod, could hold some rare encounters. Don't ask me how. Found a level 69 Milotic just chilling, and I'm just like, really? We're gonna do this now. I caught it, and I made sure to give it the ever-famous combination of moves: Surf, Ice Beam, Toxic, Recover. Even had a Modest Nature to boot. I was pretty happy. So I had a competitive Mon right out the gate. Couldn't give less about IVs IVs. Couldn't really care about that because, Oh god. But Black 2, White 2, I think, is the definitive version for Gen 5. Gen 5, people always hype up the lore, and that's kind of it. At this point in the generations, It feels like it's a bit less about a single player experience of going from gym to gym and battling people, because now we're apparently all about the lore! Same is true for Gen 6, same is true for Gen 7, a bit overboard if you ask me. I'm only wondering how in the hell they're going to do this with Gen 8, because, oh god, I don't think I can take another lore-driven story. Look, if you like the lore, that's fine. I'm impartial to the lore, I'm just making jabs at it, okay? Okay. I remember the link up bonus you got for the Gen 5 games. If you attached if you did some kind of, what was it, Unova link or something like that, where you got it would basically let you use a second DS to read your older file from Black 1 or White 1, and it would unlock special content, such as some of N's Pokemon, which I caught the level 35 Darmanitan out in the desert because you could totally do that before taking on Gen 4, and you could just break the game with it. I remember Gothitelle was Gardevoir 2.0, which I swear that thing should have been a dark type. Look at how it's designed. Speaking of which, I remember in college, I was with my friend on the battle subway. We did doubles because we wanted to do 21 battles to at least beat those subway goons. And sure enough, like the very first round we did, we ran into 7 Gothitelles, and they all had the ability Frisk. And I'm just like, are we on the subway or airport security? It was hilarious. And then we had some really, like, this is where the designs, if they weren't pretty wacky and outrageous in Gen 4, Gen 5 was like where they really started to, I'm not going to say go overboard, but it's where we found a hell of a lot of wackiness. There is a Knight Excavalier. I was actually hyped for this mon, so I found out it was Bug Steel, had 20 base speed, and I'm just like, hard skip. We had the literal living ice cream cone line with Vanillite, Vanillish, and Vanilluxe. The living snowflake. Ferrothorn was a competitive monster. Galvantula was that thing for huge for arachnophobes, but it was actually a pretty cool mon. Got compound eyes to boost accuracy by 30%, meaning Thunder had, I think, base 91 accuracy. Good luck missing that. Klinklang was Gears of War. Electros was the coming of Jesus for about 1 week because it had no weaknesses, but then we found out its bases weren't exactly anything spectacular. Chandelure was a monster. Haxorus was Garchomp 2.0 to a degree. Cryogonal was the living snowflake. Excelgor was a bug ninja, but I never really liked it because you had to do this was the stupid one. You had to do a very specific trade of Shelmet for Carablast. I don't know why. Golurk looked like Alphonse Zeleric. Mienshao is honestly pretty cool looking. I remember I got Mandibuzz, which was I remember that Vulture from Courage the Cowardly Dog when I see it. Hydreigon, or its Japanese name. Forgive me if I botch the pronunciation. Sazandora. But it was a dark dragon. I was hyped for that thing. I was like, when am I going to get this? In the original black? Post-game. That was me hitting my forehead. Oh, why? All the good ones aren't available till post. And Hydreigon is one of the most egregious examples of late-game evolutions because, folks, if you don't know, level 64 is what you gotta get this thing to evolve it. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, what in the hell? I remember I was hyped for Larvesta and its evolution Volcarona. We literally now have the ability of summoning Mothra at will. And it was even a static encounter at level 70 in Black-White 1. It was a static encounter at level 35 in Black-White 2, but its moveset was a lot less appealing. Still, the ability to summon Mothra at will, yes. And that was a refreshing sight to me, because Gen 4 lacked fire types. You play through Diamond and Pearl, tell me how many fire types are available. If you didn't pick Infernape, you were stuck with Rapidash. Didn't want Rapidash? No fire type for you. Though, for whatever reason, Azelf could learn Flamethrower. So I used it. The Three Musketeers, Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion Wireless. Yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, that was a joke. But Terrakion was a monster, Cobalion was skimmed over, and Virizion was okay at best. I remember the puzzle that was having to catch Tornadus and Thundurus. You need both of these. Hope you have friends. Which I did, thankfully. I had another friend that was into this game just as much as me. We worked together to catch Landorus on our files. I missed the Keldeo event, I missed the Meloetto event, I missed the Genesect event. And then Kyurem. When Black 2 White 2 came out, I saw the lore. I took one read of it, and it was like, Kyurem's literally a nobody for Reshiram and Zekrom. Kyurem is the true being, right? Reshiram and Zekrom might as well be the Heartless, and Kyurem's the nobody. And then they fused together to make the true form, Kyurem Black and Kyurem White. Makes me wonder what would happen if somebody fused all three together to make them the true original being. Anyone got concept art of that? I'm curious. That's all I remember of Gen 5, because there wasn't actually a remake of Gen 3 until Gen 6. So Gen 5 had the first treatment of the sequel titles, and that was cool. Oh god, Gen 6. I'm going to be quite honest, even to this day, I have never played through Gen 6 whatsoever. The most that I ever played of Gen 6 was a friend of mine had a Gen 6 game, and he said he wanted to get into competitive battling. So I threw my hat into the ring, did some research, watched some of the popular PokeTubers, Shofu, Joey aka PokeMMD, Thunderblunder, Duncan, think one or two others, but I gathered some data, and I made the guy a Protein Greninja, an Aegislash. I got him a Mega Scizor, a Volcarona, because Volcarona was awesome, though Stealth Rock was a thing. I got him a Smeargle for setting up traps, and I can't remember his sixth, sorry. But I got him a decent competitive team, and he thanked me for it, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And I'm kind of glad I got to see a lot of the Mons in this generation, because I honestly liked Delphox's design. A literal mage. Protein Greninja was the clear winner, though. Nothing has been as popular starter-wise, unless you count Charizard, as Greninja has been, because it's a fucking frog ninja! Pardon my French. It is a ninja! For frogs. And it had the hidden ability Protein, which was nuts. It would get another one later with Battle Bond if you had the Sun and Moon demo, which is free to download, so you have no excuse to not have Battle Bond. I remember the meme of Diggersby, though. I remember Galewing's Talonflame was busted. That was his sixth, it was Talonflame. It was Talonflame because Galewing's. It was awesome. I'm moving my arms around a lot. I remember Vivillon was a small meme for being Pokemon number 666. But it didn't really go anywhere as much as people were hoping. I remember the hype that was being able to ride Pokemon around because some of the footage for Gen 6 showed Go-Goat being rideable. But no, it was just a small little ranch area and never again. That was kind of dumb. Florges looked cool. Pangoro looked like just some big ol'... I thought, gee, Mr. Pandaria is looking great. Where else is it? Yes, the Honedge line. The Honedge line. I loved the Honedge line. Aegislash was easily my favorite of Gen 6. There's a lot of people. Aegislash I know got whatever, Smogon competitive was a thing. I don't really give two about Smogon, but at the very least they know their competitive stuff for viabilities and stuff that aren't necessarily named Ubers. But Aegislash was a beast. I remember that. I also was introduced to Shell Smash. Oh god, my breakfast coming back on me. I was introduced to Shell Smash Cloyster in this meta, and I made a point to try to use that in Gen 7. Because I thought it was pretty cool. Dragalge. Like Dragalge. A poison dragon that was just overlooked. Klotzer was meh. I remember the Mega Evolutions. I hated that Charizard was once again the poster boy for stuff. This is when, and I'm going to use this because it is kid-friendly and everything. This is really the generation where we were harkening back to Gen 1 and people were giving it so much exposure because now, apparently we can't walk 2 feet without riding Gen 1's hardened Metapods and Kakunas, or something like that. But just, so much Gen 1 exposure and overexposure. It was starting to get sickening. Oh, wait, hang on, sprite-wise. Goodra! Friggin' Goodra, that thing with an assault vest. I like that. I like that thing. When I looked at I can't find this anymore, but I distinctly recall there was like this YouTube video of a Gumi, right? It was done like the black and white grain filters, but it was playing like a background scene from the 1950s movie The Blob. And I was just like, that makes so much sense. I kind of want to get, if I ever get a Gudra in any game that it's available in, if I ever get that far, I will name it The Blob. I ended up getting one, and I made good on that promise. Trevenant was creepy. Trevenant actually made me remember that one scene from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged series, where, you remember, look out, Pharaoh, there's a bunch of fangirls screen capping this scene. The Fiends! All that stuff. Gourgeist was pretty cool, though I read its Pokedex entry, it's a little creepy. It revels in the joy of people screaming. Ugh. Also, I can pour one out to Gen 6 easily because it didn't get a sequel game. Literally, X and Y is all Gen 6 had, so my condolences to people that wanted Pokemon Z version. I mean, it would have made sense because Zygarde. We had that terrible Diancie movie where Diancie was Mega Evolved for maybe 45 seconds, and then never again. We had that Hoopa movie, which I was okay with it. I don't think it was amazing by any standpoint, but I would have loved to see acknowledgement of that Latios and Latias maybe being the same ones from Pokemon Heroes. I think that would have made the movie a bit more enjoyable. Then there was Volcanion, which was just there. The Gen 3 remakes in Gen 6. Oh God. Now this is what I would like to call the true first instance of you have to buy this title if you want to remain competitively relevant. Because if you didn't have Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire, you couldn't do true competitive battling because there were Mega Evolutions introduced in this generation, and half of them were in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire for the more obscure mons that were going to bring them out of being scrappy tier and into legitimate threat territory. Because the first wave of Mega Evolutions was all the popular and pseudo-legendary mons, which I absolutely hated. Oh God, why? I hated it so much. Let me get my breath for a moment. I'm doing this by myself, and I'm amazed that I've been ranting for almost an hour now. Maybe I'll make it to an hour, who knows? But, yeah, just some guy did a 7-hour review playing start to finish, voicing all of his grievances. Go look that up. It's probably somewhere out there. But, just, oh my God, the amount of issues Gen 6 had from start to finish were kind of why I paint it as one of the worst generations ever. It introduced, it knocked Gen 2 off of a throne, because Gen 2 only released around 100 new mons. Gen 6 only introduced somewhere around the 80s. It definitely wasn't, it was less than 90, more than 80, I remember that. There was like way less mons introduced here. And there was literally no post-game for Gen 6 outside of one battle, one legendary to go catch, and then it was just stuff for competitive battling, which was still very monotonous and annoying. Though the super training was pretty cool. The super training theme. Oh my God, that felt like it should have been in the anime. Let's be real here. That's an anime song if I ever heard it. Kudos for that. But the Gen 6 remakes of Gen 3, even worse, because they literally ripped the Battle Maison, or the Battle Chateau, there it is. It's either the Battle Chateau or Battle Maison, one of the two. They ripped that battle facility into Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. They did not take the cue from Emerald. They could have made Gen 6 Gen 3 remake one of the generations that would keep on giving. With the Battle Frontier and being able to consistently urge you, hey, you gotta make teams for all this stuff. It'll keep you playing for hours, because once you finally beat all of this, you will feel happy. Nope! All you get is the Battle Maison, and the worst part about it is they gave those bosses a remix of the old Battle Frontier theme, and that just spat in the face of so many players I remember. It was not well liked at all. Once again, Steven was the champion instead of Wallace, and we had an episode Emerald, which introduced for the competitive scene probably one of the most game-breaking and meta-defining Pokemon of the game, Mega Rayquaza. All because it didn't need a Mega Stone to evolve. So you can give it an Assault Vest, have 4 attacking moves on it. Good luck breaking my defenses! Dragon's Ascent, go! It was so bad that the competitive community of Smogon literally had to take Ubers, which was a ban list tier, and make a new one named Anything Goes just for that one Pokemon. Because now, at this stage, we could have... Oh, and Gen 3's remake also introduced a primal reversion for Groudon and Kyogre, a new weather effect that only they could incorporate so long as they were on the field. That would negate water moves for Groudon, and negate fire moves for Kyogre, and power up water and fire moves respectively. In which case, Groudon got Precipice Blades, slightly less accurate, slightly more powerful than Earthquake, but it was hard-hitting, and was just a game changer. You could now have a Mega Evolution, Mega Rayquaza, or Bust Online, a Primal Reversion, and yeah, that's about what you had. That's about what you had. You could have one of each. And it was just disgusting. Then Gen 7 came along, and I finally got a 2DS system for Christmas one year. So I booted it up, and I started playing. I was happy, because I could finally play a more high-def Pokemon game. I like the themes. I like what we were going for. I was disappointed Gen 7 did not have an endgame. I once again got a female starter, as my tradition would have, and I named it Anna. Don't know why I named it Anna, but I think I was on an EBF 4 high at the time. Epic Battle Fantasy 4. I'm still trying to beat 5. Which is why I haven't done anything with it yet. That's coming. Come hell or high water. Let me think here. A lot of people liked the Decidueye design. Primarina looked like a mermaid, and the Z move that it had looked like a Spirit Bomb. And everyone remembered Incineroar as the Pokemon that was disappointing. If it wasn't going to disappoint in one way, it was going to disappoint in another. Because it became this John Cena or Triple H looking guy, and it looked like it was going to be a firefighting type, and people did not want that. So they backpedaled and made it a Fire Dark type. If people weren't mad about it looking like a firefighting, they were mad that their precious kitty cat grew up and then wanted to stand on 2 legs. And I remember the fan art of people trying to get it to go back on 4. I just laughed. Let me see here. Yeah, Primarina was cool too. I know a friend of mine that used that pretty highly. I mean, Primarina was a cannon, but Gen 7 in particular, mon-wise across the board, was just widely disliked. Not widely disliked in the way of a lot of things were pretty slow. I think one of the faster mons we had was Mimikyu. Which, that was another nice game-breaking mon, Mimikyu, because it had the disguise ability. Raise your hand, how many people fought Mimikyu the first time, thinking you just one-shot it with a Z-move, and then it would take no damage, and you're like, what the... And it would just make a huge, disguise. Disguise was busted. I'm just thinking to myself, oh god. Who remembers the totem fights? Now, I liked the totem fights, okay? I liked that it was a breath of fresh air from being a non-conventional gym and feeling a little bit more like an adventure. Though, unfortunately, the lore took over again. And honestly, we had a pretty nice, heartwarming end to that particular story. My problem is it was before even getting through to the end of the trials of battling Hapu and getting the Elite Four and all that stuff. I hated where it was ended. I think it should have been where the adventure ended for the story instead of Elite Four champion and all that stuff. Anyways, Pokemon, because we got the Toucanon. I used Toucanon for a while. It's pretty cool. I remember there was an actually disgusting comp where somebody used Trumbeak, utilized, I think it was Bullet Seed, to hit a Mudsdale, and it just activated Stamina 5 times. Because Trumbeak and Toucanon get Skill Link, which make all of its moves that are multi-hits hit for the maximum number of times. So for Rock Blast, Bullet Seed, and Fury Attack, guaranteed 5 hits, which is cool. Toxapex was annoying. I remember, I think it was Corsola, or trying to get the likes of Marini. This is also the first generation that I legit had some friends help, and I finally completed a Pokedex for the first time and got the Shiny Charm. One of the first eggs I hatched, Shiny Porygon. I was happy. Anyways, I remember the hype of Araquanid being a monster. I remember Lurantis being a legitimate threat as a Totemon until we found out, oh, use a Fire-type Z-move at one-shots. Shiinotic was okay. Serena was fetish fuel. Beware was legitimately terrifying. Salazzle's entry terrified me as well, because when I read the entry, I was like, okay, so it's just going to make a reverse. Oh. And then I read that she could do that to humans as well, and I'm like, oh. I wonder how the anime is going to portray this. If they ever do. And all Salazzle's had in the anime, from what I remember, is just one appearance, and it was very goofy. I know one of the Team Skullgrunts were, the Team Skullgrunts they have a Salander or two there for comic relief, and one actually tried to eat the egg that was going to hatch into the Alolan Vulpix, which this generation gave us the Alolan forms of some Gen 1 Pokemon, and only Gen 1 Pokemon, if I recall correctly, because as we all know, we cannot stop riding the Gen 1 train that is the hardened Metapods and Kakunas. I don't even know what in the hell I'm saying when I say that. But seriously, why only the Gen 1 Mons? Why is that the only generation that has regional differences? Why not take some from Gen 2, Gen 3, and onward? Mega Evolutions are the same way. Why only these Mons? I mean, you gave them to the Gen 1, Gen 3, and that's it. You gave them to the Gen 1 and Gen 3 starters, whereas Gen 2, Gen 4. I would have loved a Mega Evolution for Empoleon or Typhlosion. How about Gen 5? How about Gen 6? Oh, they did get one. Battle Bond Greninja. You guys remember that? Smogon hated Protein Greninja, so they wanted to ban that to the world, but Battle Bond? Hell no, we gotta play that you. Oh, and you couldn't even rename the thing either, because the OT was named Ash, so you couldn't rename it, which was dumb. And Battle Bond could never, forever, ever, never ever for never ever, I think that's the way it went. You could never rename it because its OT would always be Ash. So if you had a shiny one with Battle Bond, you were a hacker. If you had one that was nicknamed, you were a hacker. If you had one in a different Pokeball, you were a hacker. And I believe this was also the generation that some goof named Verlisify was also just really cracking down and trying to be this paragon of Pokemon justice. And I want to say a good 90% of the non-Verlis fans laughed in his face about it because he's fighting a losing battle here. There's gonna be hackers in all spades in this game. And even if we say, oh, we renounce our hacking ways because we want to be legitimate players, it's not going to stop the influx. When one dies, 2 more take their place. They're like insects. Or rabbits or something, I don't know. Not to spread any salt, spread any attacks or whatever, because I'm not about that. This is just my experiences. But I remember Mimikyu. I remember being in awe over Lunala. That looked pretty cool, to be honest, and I hate that Lunala is like the joke, because its typing is Psychic Ghost. It's quad weak to its own type, and dark. I am so sorry. I am so sorry, Moonbat. We also had the Guardians, which were pretty cool. Tapu Koko was good. Then I saw the anime episode with Tapu Lele, where it just pretty much mercilessly beats up Rockruff. And when it goes to heal it, and it doesn't heal, she gets so pissed it looks like she's just gonna end his life then and there. Like, you reject my gift? Does this look like the face of mercy to you? Oh, boy. I liked that episode, if only because, Rockruff did get a nice third evolution for the Lycanroc family. Tapu Bulu was cool. I like Tapu Bulu too. Bulu was really chill. And Feeny almost looked like she was trying to kill a man. Because it looked like... I get it was for Kiawe's trial. But, oh my god, I felt like she was literally trying to kill... I even looked at Tapu Koko as a legit stalker for Ash, because it appeared just literally in the snap of your finger. It kind of looked... I don't know. Tapu Koko felt like it was stalking Ash. I'm taking this in a bit of a dark way, but just hear me out on that. Each one of them had some attraction to the characters in some way. Koko really liked Ash and was the one that gave him the Z-Ring and blessed the Z-Ring to use those new Z-Crystals when Ultra Sun Moon came out. Tapu Lele beat the shit out of Rockruff and granted its energy, and even had an on-screen draining kiss with Ash. I remember that. People made a meme about that. Tapu Bulu was chill as all hell, and Tapu Fini nearly murdered the entire party. All for the sake of getting Kiawe some kind of, what was it, Flynium Z? Yeah, it was Flynium Z. And then we had the introduction to the Ultra Beasts. Nihilego was an entire plot point for literally the entirety of for Sun and Moon, and even Ultra Sun and Moon. Buzzwole was this buff-looking thing. Pheromosa was the beauty queen, which I found when I saw that episode in the anime, I was like, yeah, this is pretty accurate. She's very petty. She only wants the shiny stuff because she deems it as pretty. And then Beware wrecked her shit when she saw yes, the Beware is female as well. That has been confirmed, that Beware is the mother of a Stuffle. I like that Stuffle, because it just paints more comedy to it. But Beware saw that Meowth looked like it had been beaten senseless, so Beware pretty much put on the mama face and wrecked Pheromosa to hell and back. Xurkitree was the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing electric tube man. Celesteela was a literal rocket. Kartana is the hero we deserve. Guzzlord is like just this monster that will never stop eating. Even the anime portrays it like this. It just eats and eats and eats. An entire episode was done in the anime where it was just in the, just some alternate universe with Zeraora. Necrozma was the poster boy for an entire sequel because it wanted its light back, though I felt like it should have just been a world devourer from Ultra Space, but you do you. Magearna was cool. Marshadow was another broken mon because of its Spectral Thief being able to steal buffs. Poipole was an absolute disappointment, though it was easily the cutest mon in the Sun and Moon anime. I hate that it decided to stay. Ash, you should have kept that thing because you technically caught it in a beast ball. It was your growing boy. You were teaching it fun stuff. Now we can't see drawings anymore. God damn it. Naganadel could actually talk. Like it actually talked in the anime. Why? Stakataka and Blacephalon were just the new ones. Literally the new ones. Blacephalon was kind of a treat, though, because it kind of felt like, it just felt like it was a performer, more or less. And that's all it really wanted to do, and that's fine. Stakataka was just this big lumbering spider of, you need Trick Room and then I can be a monster. Zeraora was a cat, and everybody wants to be a cat. But for whatever reason, I look at this sprite gallery, they say Meltan and Melmetal were introduced in Gen 7. Technically true, but they are not available in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. They were available in that mobile game Let's Go, and you had that mobile game Pokemon Go, which was a thing. I never played it, I wanted to play it, memes were made of it, it became horrible, and now it's less horrible, but still we'll never forgive it for that. Because now you could import your mons from Pokemon Go mobile game into Pokemon Let's Go and utilize them, which means that if the game has its way, for the future generation, Pokemon Go is going to be a mainstream mon title, where if you catch a Pokemon there, utilize the Pokemon Home feature to import them into Let's Go, you can then use that same Home feature to import them into Gen 8. Oh, wait! So, remember what I said about Gen 8? Oh, but also, Ultra Sun Moon didn't really have that much of a post-game, but it had what I thought was a Sonic special stage. With how you find the, legendary Pokemon. And it was pretty cool. I actually played some fitting music over the times I was racing through that. It also had a very throwaway minigame, Mantine Surf. But I just blasted Wave Race music full blast and busted tricks to get battle points for battle items. I had fun with it. It might not have been the coolest today. Oh, and Move Tutors were back in Ultra Sun Moon 2. Sun and Moon had nothing for the competitive scene. It had Megastones for mons that were not available in the region. It had next to no actual post-game outside of the Ultra Beast hunt. Sun and Moon fixed that, gave us Team Rainbow Rocket back for some more nostalgia driving, but also, paying nods and homages to everyone in that. I found it funny, you can actually get to the battle tree in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon before taking on the Rainbow Rocket story, and just wreck them with the Megastones. I kid you not. It's exactly what I did. Also, even better, after completing the Ultra Necrozma line, the Ultra Wormhole is available right then and there. It's not relocked until post game. So I actually just I just dived right back into the Cosmos and saw what I could find. I found Latias. I found Cresselia. I found a Bold Zapdos with perfect IVs and special attack and speed that I was very happy with. And I just took those to the end game and just blasted through. It was fun. It was awesome. That's what I want a Pokemon game, to have fun. So there you go. Let me think here. Anything else to cover before Gen 8? No, I think I've covered everything. All in all, as of right now, I have loved my Pokemon journey from start to finish. I've loved it. I've loved the Pokemon that I've gotten to catch, that I've gotten to battle with, that I've gotten to raise up and take into the competitive scene and do okay whenever I felt like it. I've dabbed in the likes of Pokemon Showdown here and there for battling. It's been a fun ride. But Generation 8 did something that I find a bit inexcusable because it goes against everything Pokemon is supposed to be. Here's what they did. So today, at the time of this recording, I found out that you are not able to bring in to the game Pokemon that are not registered in the Galar Pokédex. Now, they did say that you can bring over any shinies that you had acquired in Pokemon Let's Go. They're going to have support in that game, meaning all the Kantomons are available. Let's once again ride the Gen 1 hardened Metapods and Kakunas. Don't even know what that means. But, oh my god. That means if I were to ever get a Switch and get those services to enable my old Pokemon to come into the game, I wouldn't be allowed to bring over my Typhlosion, my Empoleon, my Roserade, any of the other mons that I would consider likable, and, I kind of want to have them in there because they're not available. It was stupid. That's one of the stupidest design choices I've ever seen, and I think it is because of the rush job that they're doing with this game. It's gonna be the epitome of a rush job. People are already speculating. You watch, the third version of this game is going to have support for all Pokemon, meaning you're going to warrant a second purchase. You have to buy this game now to become to stay competitively relevant, or to be able to participate in the competitive Pokemon scene. And to that, I will argue, remember X and Y. Remember X and Y did not have a third game. We had the remakes of Gen 3, which necessitated that same function, but in terms of going from X and Y, thinking there'd be another Gen 6 game, like an actual Gen 6 game where you go around Kalos, no. All you had was X and Y. Every other game in this series has had at least 3 to 4 games to traverse through. At least. The original generations had Red, Blue, Yellow. Gen 1 had Red, Blue, Yellow. Gen 2 had Gold, Silver, Crystal. Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. And then Gen 1 had more with Fire, Red, Leaf, Green. Gen 4 had Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. Gen 2 had 2 more entries with Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Gen 5 had Black, White, Black 2, White 2. Gen 6 only had X and Y. Gen 3 got 2 more to their games with, 2 more to their games with Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. Gen 7 even had 4 games: Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. People are hoping that the DS would get Gen 4 remakes, which are not happening. The thing that I took a look at this, you don't even need remakes of these games anymore. It'd be printing money. There's no doubt about that. And it would be awesome to see. I am for a Gen 4 remake, but one reason that it may not happen, if it does happen later on in the future, lambast me all you will because I am wrong, but a Gen 4 remake may not happen because you can access, if you have a dual slot DS, you can access Gen 3 via the Game Boy Advance slot and use that dual slot DS to bring them in Gen 4. You can access then Gen 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's my hand hitting my other hand. Gens 4, 5, 6, and 7, all via a 2DS or 3DS system via the cartridge backwards compatibility. If you have Pokemon Bank installed or have a second DS, you can bring your Gen 4 mons into Gen 5. Pokemon Bank even worked with Virtual Console titles for the first 2 generations. Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver got released standalone without Crystal in the lineup. People were angry and sad. Crystal then got a release. Everything was as it should be. So you can technically so if you have a dual slot DS or DS Lite along with a 2DS or 3DS, you can access all 7 generations literally across 1 to 2 families of systems. The DS and 3DS family. Simple as that. Pokemon is available for a smaller selection of systems. Maybe not as easily for Gen 3, Gen 4, but onward, it's there if you want to experience it in physical format, which is excellent. Very, very excellent. I never talked Battle Revolution for Gen 4, but just know that you needed Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum to hook to it, and that's about it. It was basically an HD Pokemon Stadium. Still fun, but still HD Stadium. So yeah, that's one of the big problems with Gen 8. There's not going to be any Mega Evolutions. There are not going to be Z-moves. There's going to be this new mechanic they call Dynamaxing. And I looked at it and I'm just like, okay, who hired Rita Repulsa to make our monsters grow? Seriously, that's what it is. That's all Dynamaxing is. We are making our monsters grow for 3 turns. I looked at the design for the gyms. I hate that they are sports stadiums. Get them out of here. We don't need more. We don't need sports in Pokemon. We've already got sports in Pokemon. How? Gen 5 and the Pokeathlon in Gen 4. That was honestly an addicting minigame. That's all we need for sports. Get that sports stadium stuff out of here. We don't need that. Hey, if you like it, that's fine. But what's inexcusable is the fact that we will not be able to have all our mons available. What this means, and what I kinda hope happens, if it doesn't happen, okay, but this does signal some red flags for us Pokemon fans, because the whole premise of the game is, gotta catch them all, right? Right. There are people that have spent their whole life doing living dexes, trying to literally catch them all each and every generation. And they haven't been exhausted. There was this one guy on YouTube that did an entire living shiny dex, meaning he has every Pokemon in the game ever that has a shiny form encountered and registered in his Pokedexes as shiny mons. And since we can, he'll probably buy it to get the Galar Pokemon as well, but when it comes to wanting to do it for all 800 and have them all wrapped up in one nice package, can't do that anymore. Galar doesn't want you to. My hope is that this game, this one particular set of games, bombs. Because we gotta send a message to these guys. Don't rush your game. Give us the product we want. Not what you want, because we gotta make money, make quota. Give us the product we want. All the content creators and all that stuff, they're gonna buy this game. They're gonna give Nintendo their money because that's their job, okay? Nothing against them. It's their job. It's also free content for any content creators, because I heard Nintendo finally rescinded that whole policy of, oh, we can't have you upload any footage of our games, even though that's the freest marketing available to get people to buy our product. They finally rescinded that stupid rule. As long as you have commentary over your video, you can talk, you can play, you can do whatever you want when it comes to Nintendo product. You have commentary over it, you're A-okay. Yes, I read those rules. And I'm happy. That means that people that were bound to Nintendo games are no longer just bound to Nintendo games. Because you had to upload your video to a Nintendo server, that had to get overlooked, and you had to be pro-Nintendo. You had to be a guy that was literally Nintendo or nothing. Now those people that were shackled to playing only the Nintendo games for their content, they don't have to play just Nintendo anymore. They can finally experience the good stuff on the old PlayStations and Segas and stuff. Oh man, my voice. How long? 75 minutes I've been talking for, roughly. Oh my god. That shows you how much I love Pokemon, guys. take it from me. I love Pokemon. If you love Pokemon and you want Generation 8, I will not stop you. Go buy the game. It does look pretty cool. Me, I'm not buying a Switch. I am not buying Generation 8 in any way, shape, or form. If all Pokemon are available in Generation 8, cool. But I'm done with Pokemon for the most part. I'll still follow it because it's near and dear to my heart. I'll follow it to the ends of the earth, or until the genre dies out completely, in which case Pokemon just got a hell of a lot more expensive to manage. But I'm done talking about Pokemon. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening to this podcast. Maybe I'll put some kind of background music into the background, or maybe I'll just have some static images up there as I go through this. I don't know how I'm going to edit this together, but some way I want to get my thoughts out on there for you guys to listen to. Until then, though, this is Ragnamunis signing out. You guys have a great night. Thanks for listening in, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.